Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because their life has no order. They wake up tired. They move through the day distracted. They promise themselves change and break that promise quietly. Not because they are weak, but because their habits are scattered. Their energy is leaking, and their mind is constantly pulled in 10 different directions. Napoleon Hill discovered a hard truth while studying the most successful men of his era. Success is never accidental. It is the natural result of self-discipline, mental order, and simple daily habits practiced consistently over time. Most people search for complex systems, productivity hacks, new apps, shortcuts that promise transformation in days. But the men and women who build real success, inner peace, financial freedom, and long-term stability do the opposite. They master the basics. They create order within, and the outer world begins to align. This is not a motivational speech. This is not a list of life hacks. These are the habits of self-mastery, the habits that quietly shape character, sharpen focus, strengthen discipline, and build the kind of inner order that produces outer success. Today, I will share 10 simple habits that almost everyone knows, but very few practice consistently. They look ordinary. They feel obvious. And that is exactly why they work. If you apply even half of what you are about to learn, your energy will stabilize. Your thinking will become clearer. Your discipline will strengthen. And your life will begin to organize itself naturally. Stay with me until the end, because the final habit is the one that unites all the others. And before we begin, make this quiet decision with yourself. No shortcuts, no excuses, just consistency. Let's start with the foundation of all discipline, the habit that determines your energy, your clarity, and your ability to follow through on everything else. Before you try to fix your finances, before you organize your goals, before you demand more focus, discipline, or productivity from yourself, you must first bring order to your sleep. Sleep is not rest. Sleep is regulation. Your body operates on rhythm. A biological clock governs your energy, hormones, mood, focus, and decision-making. When that rhythm is broken, everything else becomes harder, not because you are lazy or unmotivated, but because your system is unstable. Most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They sleep at 11 one night, 2 in the morning the next. They wake up early during the week, late on weekends. They believe they are catching up on sleep, but in reality, they are confusing their nervous system. The result is constant fatigue, mental fog, low emotional control, and the feeling of always being behind, even when nothing is technically wrong. Successful people understand something most never learn. Energy comes before discipline, and sleep is where energy is built. Treating sleep as optional is one of the fastest ways to destroy consistency. You may still push forward for a while, fueled by caffeine, pressure, or urgency, but eventually your focus collapses. Your patience disappears, and your discipline becomes fragile. This is why the most effective people do not treat sleep as a luxury. They treat it as a non-negotiable investment. Not more sleep, consistent sleep. The solution is simple, and that is why it works. Choose a fixed time to go to bed. Choose a fixed time to wake up. And honor that rhythm every day, including weekends. At first, it may feel restrictive, but very quickly, it becomes liberating. Your body learns what to expect. Your nervous system calms. Your hormones stabilize. You begin to wake up with clarity instead of resistance. After a few weeks, something remarkable happens. You wake up before the alarm. Your energy no longer spikes and crashes. Your mood becomes more stable. And the discipline you struggled to force now begins to feel natural. This is not willpower. This is alignment. When your sleep is ordered, your mind becomes clearer. When your mind is clearer, decisions become easier. And when decisions are easier, discipline stops feeling like a battle. This is why sleep sits at the foundation of self-mastery. Without it, every other habit becomes harder to maintain. With it, progress accelerates quietly. Think of sleep as the invisible structure holding your life together. You do not see it during the day, but when it is weak, everything above it starts to crack. If you want long-term success, if you want clarity, focus, and emotional control, if you want the ability to follow through on your goals consistently, you must respect your body's rhythm. Not someday, not when life slows down. Now, make a simple decision. I go to bed at the same time. I wake up at the same time. I honor my body. This single habit creates silent discipline, and silent discipline sustains everything else: wealth mindset, productivity, leadership, and inner authority. Before we move on, understand this clearly. If you do not control your sleep, everything that follows becomes wasted effort. But once your energy is regulated, your mind is awake, and your system is stable. A new question appears. What are you putting into your body every day? Because waking up with energy means nothing if you feed yourself confusion, and that is exactly what we will address next. Waking up with energy is powerful, but energy alone is not enough. If you sleep well and then feed your body poorly, that energy turns into restlessness, brain fog, and emotional instability. You feel awake but unfocused, motivated but scattered. This is where most people lose the discipline they worked so hard to build. Food is not just fuel for the body. Food is information for the mind. Every meal sends signals to your nervous system, signals that either support clarity, focus, and emotional control, or slowly create confusion, fatigue, and mental noise. You do not need a complicated diet. You do not need imported superfoods, extreme rules, or perfect macros. You need real food. Food your grandparents would recognize as food. Simple, basic, unprocessed. Rice, beans, eggs, vegetables, fruit. Whole foods that nourish instead of overstimulate. Modern life has trained people to eat for convenience, not clarity. Ultra-processed products dressed up as healthy. Protein bars filled with chemicals, meals eaten standing, scrolling, rushing. This constant chaos at the table creates chaos in the mind. Mental clarity is built the same way discipline is built, through small, consistent decisions made daily. When you eat real food, something subtle but powerful happens. Your blood sugar stabilizes. Your energy stops crashing. Your thinking becomes calmer and more focused. You stop fighting your own body. Napoleon Hill taught that a weak body cannot host a strong mind. And while he did not speak in modern nutritional terms, he understood the principle deeply. Self-mastery begins with respect for the physical instrument that carries the mind. Eating well is not about restriction. It is about intention. Cook when you can. Keep it simple. An egg with vegetables, a basic meal prepared with attention. Sit down when you eat. Remove distractions. No phone, no screen. Choose slowly. This is not a lifestyle trend. This is organization. When you eat with presence, you digest better, you think better, you feel grounded instead of rushed, and everything connects. Eat well, you sleep better. Sleep better, you focus better. Focus better, you make better decisions. Better decisions compound into discipline, productivity, and long-term success. Most people search for mental clarity in supplements and stimulants, but clarity does not come from adding more. It comes from removing what disrupts your system. You do not need perfect nutrition. You need consistency. Choose simple meals. Repeat them. Let your body relax into rhythm. This habit builds a quiet strength, not visible from the outside, but deeply felt on the inside. You begin to trust your energy again. You stop negotiating with fatigue. You stop relying on constant stimulation to function. This is how inner order is built, one meal at a time. Make a simple commitment. I feed my body with real food. Not perfectly, not obsessively, but consistently, because when you respect your body, your mind becomes sharper. And when your mind is sharp, discipline stops being exhausting. Before we move forward, understand this: even with good sleep and good nutrition, your energy can still disappear if you live surrounded by disorder. You can eat well and still feel drained if your environment is constantly pulling at your attention. And that is why the next habit is critical, because a clear mind cannot survive in a chaotic space. You can sleep well, you can eat clean, you can move your body and feel strong. But if you live surrounded by disorder, your energy will still leak away quietly, constantly, without warning. Your environment is not neutral. It is always influencing you. Every object you tolerate, every mess you ignore, every unfinished task left in plain sight is making a small demand on your attention. You may think you are used to it. You may say it does not bother you, but your nervous system knows the truth. Disorder creates background stress. It fragments focus. It drains mental clarity even when you are not consciously aware of it. This is why people often feel tired in a messy space and calm in a clean one, even if nothing else changes. Most people approach organization the wrong way. They wait until everything is out of control. Then they attempt massive cleanups, long, exhausting sessions that leave them drained and resentful. This turns organization into punishment. And punishment never lasts. Order is not built through intensity. Order is built through maintenance. The most effective people do not rely on motivation to clean their environment. They rely on small, daily actions that prevent chaos from accumulating. 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, not the entire house. One small area at a time. You walk through the living room, you straighten it. You use a dish, you clean it immediately. You finish a task, you put things back where they belong. This is not about perfection. It is about rhythm. When care is distributed across the day, nothing becomes overwhelming. And when nothing is overwhelming, your mind remains free. A clean environment sends a powerful signal to the subconscious: I am in control. Not aggressively, not forcefully, quietly. Order outside reduces decision fatigue. It shortens the distance between intention and action. It removes friction from daily life. This is why organization directly affects productivity and discipline. Not because cleaning makes you successful, but because clarity creates momentum. When your space is in order, your thoughts slow down, your focus sharpens, your tolerance for excuses decreases. You stop negotiating with your surroundings. You stop reacting. You begin acting. Disorder trains the mind to delay. Order trains the mind to execute. This is why environment is not a cosmetic habit. It is a power habit. You are teaching yourself every day that you respect your space and, by extension, your time, your energy, and your future. Think about it carefully. If you do not care for what you already have, why would life trust you with more? Order is not about impressing others. It is about creating a space that supports focus, calm, and self-command. Make this decision simple. I maintain my environment daily. Not someday, not when you feel like it. Daily. Because when you consistently care for what surrounds you, your mind becomes more disciplined without effort. And once your environment begins to obey you, there is one place left where chaos can still hide. Your mind. If you do not feed your mind intentionally, the world will do it for you through noise, distractions, and endless information. And that is why the next habit is essential. Because reading daily is not entertainment. It is mental survival. Once your body is regulated and your environment is no longer draining your attention, a deeper question emerges. What are you feeding your mind every day? Because a disciplined body and an organized space mean nothing if your thoughts are shaped by noise, distraction, and shallow information. Most people do not suffer from a lack of intelligence. They suffer from a lack of quality input. Their minds are constantly reacting to headlines, notifications, short videos, opinions, and emotional content designed to capture attention, not to build understanding. Reading is the opposite of that. Reading forces the mind to slow down, to concentrate, to follow an idea from beginning to end. This is why daily reading is not a hobby. It is mental training. You do not need hours. You do not need a perfect schedule. 10 pages a day is enough. 10 pages may feel insignificant, but consistency transforms it into power. 10 pages a day becomes 300 pages a month. That is 3 to 4 full books. In 1 year, that becomes more than 30 books. Not summaries, not clips, books. Napoleon Hill taught that knowledge is only potential power. It becomes real power only when it is organized and applied. And organization begins with attention. When you read, your mind works differently. You imagine. You connect ideas. You develop language, perspective, and reasoning. You are not being entertained. You are being shaped. Short-form content gives the illusion of learning. You feel informed without being transformed. You watch, you nod, and you forget. Books demand participation. They require effort, and effort is what creates depth. This is why people who read daily think differently. They speak with clarity. They make better decisions. They see beyond immediate emotion. They develop long-term thinking. The foundation of leadership, wealth mindset, and self-mastery. Reading also protects your mind. A mind that reads is harder to manipulate, harder to distract, harder to rush into impulsive decisions. You begin to recognize patterns. You see cause and effect more clearly. You stop reacting and start responding. And this compounds quietly. You may not notice the change in a week, but in months, your thinking becomes sharper. Your words become more precise. Your confidence becomes grounded instead of emotional. This is why reading daily separates those who merely organize their life from those who truly evolve. Do not wait for the perfect book. Start with what challenges your thinking, what stretches your perspective, what builds skill, understanding, or inner strength. Read slowly, Underline, take notes, not to impress anyone, but to integrate ideas into your own thinking. This habit is not about speed. It is about depth, and depth creates authority. Make a simple commitment. I read every day, even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it, because reading on ordinary days builds extraordinary thinking over time. Before we move forward, understand this clearly. Knowledge without energy becomes intention that never moves. A trained mind without a strong body becomes theory without action. The next habit is what converts everything you have learned so far into momentum, resilience, and follow through. Because discipline is not maintained in the mind alone, it must be supported by the body. And that is exactly what we will address next. Knowledge without energy remains trapped in the mind. Plans without physical strength collapse under pressure. This is where many people break their momentum. They read, they understand, they feel inspired, but their body is exhausted, stagnant, and underused. And when the body lacks movement, discipline becomes fragile. The human body was not designed for stillness. It was designed for motion. Yet modern life trains people to sit for hours at work, in traffic, in front of screens, and then collapse onto a couch at the end of the day. The result is predictable low energy, restlessness, poor sleep, and a constant feeling of resistance toward effort. Movement is not about fitness. Movement is about activation. Napoleon Hill taught that inertia is the enemy of initiative, and nowhere is inertia more destructive than in the body. When the body moves, the mind follows. You do not need a gym membership. You do not need expensive equipment. You do not need long, exhausting workouts. You need regular movement, a walk around your neighborhood, stretching in the morning, taking stairs instead of elevators, moving while you clean, standing instead of sitting when possible. 20 minutes a day is enough to change everything. Not because it makes you stronger overnight, but because it keeps your circulation active, your nervous system regulated, and your energy available. Most people wait for motivation to exercise. That is backward. Movement creates motivation, not the other way around. Start small. 5 minutes if that is all you can do. Begin before your mind has time to negotiate. This habit trains something far more important than muscles. It trains identity. Every time you move your body despite not feeling like it, you reinforce a powerful message to yourself: I act even without motivation. That belief compounds. Your confidence becomes grounded. Your discipline becomes reliable. You stop depending on emotional highs to take action. Movement also protects your mental clarity. Physical motion reduces anxiety. It releases tension stored in the body. It helps process stress that would otherwise cloud your thinking. This is why people often get their best ideas while walking. Movement creates space for thought. A stagnant body traps stagnant emotions. A moving body processes them. And as your energy stabilizes, everything you built in previous habits becomes easier to maintain. Sleep improves. Focus sharpens. Reading becomes more engaging. Decisions feel lighter. This is not coincidence. It is physiology. You are aligning your body with your intentions. Make this decision simple. I move my body every day. Not intensely, not perfectly, consistently. This habit builds quiet resilience, the kind that does not announce itself, but shows up when pressure arrives. And yet, even with a regulated body, a nourished mind, and stable energy, one danger remains: noise, constant stimulation, endless input, screens that fragment attention and drain willpower without you noticing. This is where many disciplined people lose control, not through weakness, but through distraction. And that is why the next habit is urgent. Because if you do not control your screen will control you. You can sleep well, you can eat clean, you can move your body and feel strong, and still feel scattered. Because in the modern world, attention is under constant attack. Screens are not evil, but uncontrolled screens are. They quietly drain energy, fragment focus, and weaken discipline without pain, without warning, without resistance. Most people believe they relax with screens. In reality, they overstimulate their nervous system until it forgets how to rest. You wake up and reach for your phone. You check messages, news, notifications. Before your day even begins, your attention already belongs to someone else. Napoleon Hill taught that a person who cannot control their time cannot control their life. Today, time is stolen in small pieces, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, an hour gone without memory. Not because you are careless, but because screens are designed to pull, not to serve. Focus is a limited resource. Every swipe, every notification, every scroll takes a little from it. And once focus is fractured, discipline becomes fragile. You begin many tasks. You finish few. You feel busy, but progress slows. Reducing screen exposure is not about rejection. It is about command. You decide when screens are allowed and when they are not. Start with simple boundaries. During meals, the phone does not sit at the table. In the first hour of the morning, your mind belongs to you, not to notifications. In the final hour before sleep, your nervous system needs silence, not stimulation. Create screen-free zones in your home. The bedroom, the dining table, any space meant for rest, connection, or reflection. This is not restriction. This is protection. When you reduce screen noise, something unexpected happens. Your mind slows down. Your thoughts become more complete. You feel less urgency and more presence. You begin to notice how often you reached for your phone, not out of necessity, but out of habit. And breaking that habit restores power. A focused mind is a calm mind. A calm mind makes better decisions. Better decisions create momentum. This habit alone can recover hours of your week, not by working more, but by leaking less. You stop reacting to every impulse. You stop feeding anxiety with constant input. You regain control of your attention. And attention is the currency of achievement. This is why reducing screen exposure strengthens self-discipline. Not because screens are bad, but because limits build authority. You prove to yourself that you can choose presence over distraction, that you can tolerate silence without discomfort, that you can direct your focus instead of surrendering it. Make a clear decision: I control my time. The screen does not control me. Even small limits make a difference. One screen-free meal, one focused morning, one quiet evening. These moments accumulate into clarity, and clarity changes everything. But there is another truth few people face. Even with focus protected, even with energy restored, progress can still stall if you continue carrying things that weaken you: habits, inputs, patterns, relationships, thoughts. Prosperity does not come from adding endlessly. It comes from strategic subtraction. And that is exactly what we will address next. because the next habit separates those who stay busy from those who truly advance. Most people believe progress comes from adding more effort, more habits, more information, more goals. But real progress often comes from removing what quietly drains you. You can be disciplined in many areas of life and still feel stuck because something is pulling you backward silently. This habit requires courage, not because it is complicated, but because it is honest. Elimination is not about doing more. It is about deciding what no longer deserves access to your energy. There are habits you already know are weakening you, patterns you repeat when you are tired, stressed, or bored, inputs you consume that leave you anxious, distracted, or empty. You do not need a list. You already know. Napoleon Hill taught that success requires focus on the essential and the removal of the unnecessary. Power is not built by accumulation alone, it is built by concentration. Every time you tolerate what weakens you, you teach your subconscious a lesson. This is acceptable. And the subconscious obeys what you repeatedly allow. This is why elimination is a form of self-respect. It might be a behavior you justify as harmless, a substance you use to escape discomfort, a pattern of thinking that keeps you small, a type of content that fills your mind with comparison or fear. Whatever it is, it costs you clarity, and clarity is expensive to lose. Subtraction creates space. Space for focus, space for calm, space for growth. When you remove one draining habit, your time multiplies, your anxiety decreases, your presence improves. You feel lighter not because life is easier, but because resistance has been reduced. This habit is not about perfection, it is about decision. You are not required to eliminate everything at once, but you are required to stop pretending you do not see what is hurting you. Start with one thing, one habit, one input, one pattern. Make a clean decision. This no longer has permission. You will feel discomfort at first. That is normal. Discomfort is the nervous system adjusting to a higher standard. But very quickly, something shifts. Your self-trust strengthens. Your confidence becomes quieter and more grounded. You stop negotiating with yourself. This is how inner authority is built. Not through force, but through boundaries. Elimination also sharpens identity. Every time you remove what weakens you, you reinforce the person you are becoming. You stop asking, "What can I get away with?" and start asking, "What supports the life I want to build?" This shift is powerful because once you create space, you must decide what and who is allowed to fill it. And this leads directly to the next habit. You are influenced not only by what you consume, but by who you surround yourself with. If you eliminate what weakens you, but remain surrounded by people who drain your vision, your progress will stall again. This is why the next habit is not optional. It determines whether your new strength is protected or slowly eroded. In the next chapter, you will learn why relationships shape destiny and how the right environment of people can accelerate growth or quietly destroy it. You are not shaped by effort alone. You are shaped by environment, and no environment is more powerful than the people around you. Whether you realize it or not, your thoughts, habits, language, and expectations are influenced daily by those you spend time with. This is not motivational language. It is observation. Napoleon Hill emphasized that no individual achieves great power alone. Every major achievement is supported by a mastermind, a group of people whose combined thinking elevates direction, confidence, and action. You become the average of what surrounds you. If you are constantly around people who complain, who normalize mediocrity, who mock discipline or ambition, your standards slowly lower to fit the group, not because you are weak, but because human beings adapt. You begin to speak like them. You adopt their explanations. You shrink your goals to avoid friction. This happens quietly, and that is what makes it dangerous. Relationships are not just social, they are psychological. The right relationships expand your vision, the wrong ones compress it. Choosing relationships is not about superiority, it is about alignment. Ask yourself simple questions. Do the people around me challenge me to grow? Do they respect discipline? Do they support clarity, responsibility, and self-improvement? Do they celebrate effort and progress or mock it? Growth requires friction, but it must be constructive friction. Surround yourself with people who think long-term, people who take responsibility, people who are building something even if slowly. And just as important, be that person. A mastermind is not a place to take from. It is a place to contribute. Bring focus. Bring integrity. Bring discipline. Relationships are a two-way exchange. When you elevate yourself, you elevate the group. When the group elevates you, your momentum increases. This is why relationships directly affect confidence and follow-through. When your environment supports growth, discipline becomes easier. When your environment resists growth, discipline becomes exhausting. Choosing your circle is choosing your future. This does not always mean cutting people out dramatically. Sometimes it means adjusting proximity, adjusting frequency, adjusting influence. You can love someone without allowing them to shape your direction. Boundaries are not rejection, they are clarity. Make a clear decision. I choose relationships that elevate my thinking and standards. This habit protects everything you have built so far. Because even with energy, clarity, focus, and discipline, progress can collapse if you constantly absorb doubt, negativity, or limitation from others. But there is one relationship that matters more than all the others, the relationship you have with yourself. And that brings us to the next habit. Because if you do not trust your own word, no plan holds weight, no discipline lasts, no success sustains. In the next chapter, you will learn why keeping promises to yourself is the invisible foundation of confidence, character, and long-term success. Everything you have built so far rests on one invisible foundation, your word to yourself. Most people think confidence comes from results. In reality, confidence comes from integrity, the alignment between what you say and what you do. Every time you promise yourself something and fail to follow through, something quiet but dangerous happens. You lose credibility with yourself, not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually. You begin to doubt your own intentions. You hesitate before committing. You negotiate instead of deciding. And over time, discipline weakens, not because you are incapable, but because your subconscious has learned that your words do not carry weight. Napoleon Hill taught that self-discipline is born from decision, and decision loses power when it is not honored. Many people talk endlessly about what they will do. They announce goals, they explain plans, they promise change. But talking is easy, action is rare. And the more you speak without acting, the more you train yourself to ignore your own voice. This habit reverses that pattern. Keeping promises to yourself is not about making big declarations. It is about keeping small commitments consistently. Start with what you know you can honor. If you say you will wake up at a certain time, do it. If you say you will read 10 pages, do it. If you say you will move your body, do it. No drama, no negotiation. Each kept promise strengthens internal trust. Each completed action reinforces identity. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who hopes, but as someone who follows through. This is where real confidence is built. Quiet, grounded, unshakable. People with self-trust do not need to prove themselves. They do not over-explain. They do not seek validation. Their actions speak. This habit also changes how others perceive you. When your word becomes reliable, your presence carries weight. But the most important shift happens internally. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop delaying. You stop waiting for motivation, because motivation becomes irrelevant when trust is established. Make this rule simple. Speak less. Decide clearly. Execute quietly. Before making a promise, ask yourself, am I absolutely willing to do this? If the answer is not a clear yes, do not promise. Remain silent. Then act. Silence followed by action is far more powerful than promises followed by excuses. This habit builds character, and character sustains success. Without self-trust, goals remain ideas, plans remain intentions. Discipline collapses under pressure. With self-trust, you become internally aligned, and alignment creates momentum. Before we move to the final habit, pause and understand this clearly. If you do not trust yourself, no strategy works, no system lasts, no habit survives stress. Everything begins here. And this is why the final habit is decisive, because even discipline can become rigid. Even structure can become noisy. Even action can lose clarity. There must be a place where everything settles, where focus is restored, where direction becomes clear. That place is silence. In the final chapter, you will learn why silence is not inactivity, but the space where clarity, power, and purpose align. We live in constant noise, notifications, voices, music, content, opinions, endless stimulation filling every empty space. Most people are never alone with their own thoughts, and because of that, they never truly know themselves. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is order. It is the place where everything you have built so far finally comes together. Napoleon Hill spoke of accessing higher intelligence not through chaos, but through stillness. When the mind is noisy, you are reactive. You follow impulses. You confuse urgency with importance. But when the mind is quiet, something shifts. You become deliberate. Silence is where clarity is restored, where decisions stop being emotional and start becoming intentional. This is why silence feels uncomfortable at first. It removes distraction. It removes escape. You are left with your own thoughts, your real feelings, your unresolved questions. Most people avoid this. They reach for a screen. They turn on sound. They fill the gap immediately. But the strongest individuals do the opposite. They create space. Silence allows you to process the day, to recognize patterns, to see what is working and what is not. It is where intuition becomes audible, where priorities reorganize themselves. You do not need techniques. You do not need complex meditation practices. You need presence. A few minutes a day is enough. No phone, no music, no input, just stillness. It can be in the morning, before the world demands your attention. It can be at night, before sleep. It can be a pause in the middle of the day to reset your nervous system. In silence, your nervous system calms. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts become complete instead of fragmented. This is where discipline softens into wisdom, because without silence, discipline becomes rigid. Structure becomes mechanical. Action becomes noise. Silence refines everything. It aligns sleep, nutrition, movement, focus, relationships, and self-trust into one coherent direction. This is why this habit unites all others. Without silence, you may act, but without clarity. With silence, your actions carry weight. You stop reacting to life. You start commanding yourself. And self-command is the highest form of freedom. Make this commitment sacred. I reserve moments of silence daily, not to escape life, but to lead it, because in silence, you remember who you are becoming. You reconnect with purpose. You regain authority over your attention. And from that place, habits stop feeling forced. They become natural expressions of identity. None of these habits are revolutionary. They require no money, no special tools, no extraordinary circumstances. Consistent sleep, real food, order in your environment, daily reading, movement, reduced screen exposure, strategic elimination, elevating relationships, keeping promises to yourself, and silence. Simple, obvious, ignored, and that is why they work. While most people chase shortcuts, you build foundations, brick by brick, day by day. Order does not arrive through dramatic change. It arrives through consistent choices. Choose one habit. Start today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Practice it for a week. Then add another. In a few months, your life will feel unfamiliar not because of magic, but because of discipline. And now, ask yourself, which of these habits are you already living? Which one will you begin today? Write it down. Declare it, because clarity spoken becomes identity, and identity lived becomes destiny. Most people spend their lives searching for change. New methods, new motivation, new shortcuts. But real transformation never begins with something new. It begins with order. Order in how you sleep. Order in what you eat. Order in how you move. Think, focus, and decide. Order in who you allow into your life. Order in the promises you make and keep to yourself. And finally, order in silence. These habits are not impressive. They are not flashy. They do not go viral on their own, but they work. Because while others chase intensity, you build consistency. While others wait for motivation, you rely on discipline. While others react to life, you command yourself. And when you command yourself, life begins to respond. This is how inner order becomes outer success. Quietly, relentlessly. Inevitably, now choose one habit. Not all 10. One. Start today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Practice it for 7 days. Then add another. In a few months, your life will feel different, not because of luck, but because of structure. Write in the comments, I choose order over excuses. And tell me, which habit are you committing to starting today? If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we don't chase motivation. We build discipline. clarity, and long-term success one habit at a time. This is Hill Mindset Legacy, and we build from the inside out. I'll see you in the next video.